Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome to the news bulletin at 8, brought to you by number one news provider Eswatini TV. I am Nondumiso Vilagata alongside Nomakabiso Ngambule, and here are your top stories. His Majesty King Eswatini III has called upon members of the G77 plus China to attract investors who will support hunger and poverty alleviation programs and help the G77 plus China members to achieve their SDGs. The Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Thuli Dladla says the DRC's newly sworn-in President Felix Tshisekedi was happy to have received well wishes from His Majesty King Eswatini III during his inauguration. The Minister of Education Honorable Owen Malo says it is all systems go for the opening of schools on Tuesday. And now the news in detail. His Majesty King Eswatini III has called upon members of the G77 plus China to attract investors who will support hunger and poverty alleviation programs and help the G77 plus China members to achieve their SDGs. His Majesty said this when addressing the third G77 plus China summit in Kampala, Uganda. The King was represented by the Prime Minister, His Excellency Russell Dlamini.
When delivering a statement on behalf of His Majesty King Eswatini III, the Prime Minister, His Excellency Russell Dlamini, says as the G77 in China, it remains imperative for all its members to continue to deepen and strengthen their cooperation and act in solidarity to ensure the creation of inclusive policies and joint action programs that will respond to their aspirations. Furthermore, the Prime Minister says the Kingdom of Eswatini feels that there is need for a stronger commitment and collective responsibility between the South-South as well as the North if we are to ensure that there is truly no one left behind.
The Kingdom of Eswatini feels that there is need for a stronger commitment and collective responsibility between the South-South as well as the North if we are to ensure that there is truly no one left behind. It is further crucial that developmental issues of common interest, in particular that of mobilizing concessional funding to support our programs, continue to be prioritized. We thus reiterate the importance of designing a financial architecture that will support all countries, especially the least developed countries. As the G77 countries, we will need to continue to attract, embrace and manage investments that can help stimulate sustainable economic growth and alleviate poverty in our countries. We thus reaffirm the urgency to strengthen global solidarity and international cooperation. Distinguished Chair, the Kingdom of Eswatini remains committed to ensuring that plans are in place to address inclusiveness.
The Prime Minister says the Kingdom of Eswatini, like most member states, adopted the SDGs with the aim of transforming the lives of all Emaswati. Furthermore, development and national cooperation frameworks have fully integrated the SDGs as key targets for achieving sustainable development. The country's development path is currently well articulated in several long-term, medium-term plans and other policy documents. For Eswatini TV News, I am Linton Gule in Kampala, Uganda.
The Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Thuli Dladla says the DRC's newly sworn-in President Felix Tshisekedi was happy to have received well wishes from His Majesty King Eswatini III during his inauguration. The Deputy Prime Minister had represented His Majesty during the President Tshisekedi's inauguration over the weekend.
Speaking during her arrival at Ngwenya Border Gate, where she had represented His Majesty the King during the inauguration of DRC President Felix Tshisekedi, the Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Thuli Dladla says the inauguration went very well and was well attended by many people, where the stadium was filled to capacity. She says the event was well attended as well by SADC head of states and those representing some head of states.
Sibonga nje ngwenyameni ukuthi naloko sikhathi besisifisha ngaphela sathi ukuthi uwine ngayitolo ngakusasa sekufanele ukuthi masinyane abekwe ngalokusemthethweni so kwagijinywa vele sekubhudelwa.
It was an honor for me to represent His Majesty during the inauguration of the President. You will recall that Eswatini and the DRC have long-lasting diplomatic relations, which is why we were there. Members from the African Union were also present. I got the opportunity to meet the President, and as soon as he recognized me, he warmly welcomed me and we shook hands. He was so happy to see us, and indeed we passed His Majesty's well wishes. According to the constitution of that country, it allows the president to stand for another term as president.
According to the Elections Commission of the DRC, the president won the elections by over 70%. He's taking the presidency seat for the second time. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Ngwenya.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Thuli Dladla, says government is quite aware of the problems in schools, especially with regards to the payment of OVCs. She says every child must go to school.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Thuli Dladla, says government is well aware of challenges faced by school with regards to the payment of OVC fees, which results in schools not meeting their daily needs. She says government is addressing such challenges.
Labangathathi bantwana babamikise esikolweni kulicala nekuyekelela umfana ehla enyuka estradini angayisikolweni kulicala.
Every child has the right to go to school and must be at school. Failure to send children to school is a criminal offense, as they will be deprived of education. On the issue of late payment of fees, we truly understand the situation and we are working on fast-tracking the payments and adding the amount that government pays. We receive a high number of OVCs, as in some cases, the parents will be alive but will not have any source of income, so they come through as well and see if their children qualify. This week, as the cabinet, will divide ourselves and visit schools so that we assess the situation in schools and see the problems and take it from there, and also see if we still provide quality and relevant education.
She asks parents who can pay for their children to do so rather than leaving all to government. For Eswatini TV News, I'm Kian MCB, Ngwenya.
The Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Thuli Dladla, says government is doing all she can do to ensure that schools that were damaged by storms are renovated. The Deputy Prime Minister says this week government will be working on that.
On the issue of schools that were damaged by storms, the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Thuli Dladla, says government, through micro-projects, is currently renovating affected schools. She says she had also visited Mhope High School, which was one school that was affected, and witnessed the situation herself.
Micro-project nje useti kwato ngeke ngahamba ngabheka ngalapha ngoba bengubonile uMhope uthi unakale kangakanani ngile ke ngakhona ngakhanza ukuthi bebangakaqali ngathi mangumthinsa minister ka education washo ukuthi bathi macro project is on the ground nangembala ngathi mangibuya ngakhanza sebasetule emathayileni batisebenda leto likolo ngilokunye nako lokho listakubuka kuleli viki ezisihamba sibona letikolo.
She pleads with schools to be patient while government is working around the clock to ensure that learners are back in class. Reporting, I am Kian MCB, Ngwenya.
The Minister of Education, Honorable Owen Mumalo, says it is all systems go for the opening of schools on Tuesday. Speaking at his offices in Babane, the minister said they are hoping that schools in the Hoho region that have not received all the necessary working tools and finances will be sorted by the end of this week.
Labasangathi tholi bakaho ngokusibaletha lama records late kepha nakhona info leta usheshe yendeke.
We have ensured that all schools are supplied with stationery, food, and free primary education fees. What worries us is schools that are affected by the recent storms, like Mhope High School. We have, however, ensured that micro-project stays on the ground and tries to rebuild where there has been damage. Schools in the whole region have not received everything they need because of delays in submission of necessary documents. However, this will be sorted this week.
Swazi Farm Wholesalers has donated medical drugs worth 1.8 million emalangeni to the Ministry of Health. The donation was received by the Minister of Health, Mduduzi Matsebula, who was represented by the Principal Secretary, Kanya Mabuza.
Speaking during the handover ceremony held at Swazi Farm Wholesale in Matapa, Swazi Farm Director Karim Ashraf said the wholesale has the capacity to support the government solve the drug shortage issue, as Swazi Farm is going to destroy medical suppliers worth 20 million emalangeni that has expired.
Swazi Farm can confirm it is going to destroy medical supplies worth 20 million because it has been sitting at our warehouse until it got expired. Swazi Farm is preparing to burn the expired medical drugs. A stock of close to 2 million will be expiring by the end of this year, 2024. In stock, we still have more medical drugs and medical supplies worth more than 50 million waiting for government to make orders through the tender that still exists in our favor to save Swazis.
Receiving the donation on behalf of the government, the Minister of Health, the Honorable Mduduzi Matsebula, represented by the PS Kanya Mabuza, said the government is currently strengthening medical supply systems.
We are working day and night to strengthen the systems. It's a problem that has been going on for years. It could not be solved overnight. The minister stepped up efforts to address these issues of shortages through implementing several strategies, ideas that include short-term, fixing the problem that we are facing at hand, and also developing long-term approaches. I'm confident that with this team, we are all working collectively with other ministries to ensure that the challenges that the country is facing will be a thing of the past.
The Minister of Health says the drug shortage issue will definitely start to show improvement by the beginning of the next quarter. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I'm Samgal Suekoza with Zimuva Shongwe, Matapa.
The country's reserves and the economy is set to improve after the receipts from the Southern African Customs Unit, SACU. The Governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Nisi, said this when explaining how the SACU receipts will be of benefit to the country's economy.
Minister of Finance recently announced that 13.06 billion emalangeni SACU receipts. We asked the Governor of the Central Bank of Eswatini, Dr. Nisi, on what impact will the money have on the country's economy.
We believe it to be a booster, especially to government, to attend to some lagging and aging infrastructure. So we believe that government will apply these resources, especially to capital projects which have got a potential of contributing to economic growth. We are also optimistic that the minister and cabinet and government will consider bolstering the stabilization fund, because that is the ability to deal with the fluctuations that we see in the SACU receipts. And consequently, when this happens, it got a positive effect to our reserves.
Eswatini received 11.75 billion emalangeni last year in SACU receipts. For Eswatini TV News, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa Mbabane.
Dear viewers, now take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
Today, you have a choice. How will you become future ready? Are you equipped to lead? How will you transform your career? Regent Business School empowers you with the leadership and entrepreneurial skills to disrupt, rethink, innovate, and be the future. Visit regent.ac.za to register today.
Still watching Eswatini TV News. The Eswatini Communications Commission says there is a low level of appreciation and data protection in the country. This was said by the SACU Data Protection Manager Stelo Simelane during the commencement of the National Data Protection Awareness Week.
The Data Protection Awareness Week is recognized from January 22nd to the 28th, raising awareness about the importance of the rights of privacy, and the Kingdom of Eswatini will be commemorating this week for the first time this year, now that the Data Protection Act has been enacted. Eswatini Communications Commission Data Protection Manager Sicelo Similane highlighted existing gaps on data protection in the country.
The gaps that we've also noticed is that there seems to be a low level of appreciation in terms of how much information you can take out to the public, how much information of your personal information you would want to be publicized. People are still publicizing information that we also consider to be sensitive about themselves. But you would find it out there in the papers, you'd find it out there in social media platforms. So the theme for today is that take control of your data. It's up to you what you want to take out there to the public. But again, the law places an onerous obligation on the data controllers or the data processors, which are the companies or the businesses that hold our data. It gives them, or it provides for certain legal bases under which you can process personal information and under which you can disclose personal information.
All week long, the Eswatini Communications Commission will be raising awareness about data protection in commemoration of the said week. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, I am Samkalsiwe Koza with Zimuva Shongwe, Babane.
Dear viewers, now take a look at our financial updates.
Can be.
In our sports tonight, Eswatini Football Association President has announced new changes on the technical bench of the national team Sihlangu Semnikati. The changes see Green Mamba coach Ernest Mavuso and former Royal Leopard coach Sfiso Nurondibane joining Dominic Nene as assistants.
The Eswatini Football Association Executive Committee last week held their end-of-year retreat, which lasted for 2 days, where issues which include the performance of the national team Sihlangu Semnikati were discussed. The executive committee decided to make some changes in the technical team of the national team.
Bese siyabuka lokuthi singenta njani lokuthi vele siperforme ngconywana. Kwase kuyabonakala ukuthi maybe the technical team ifuna ukuthi iboostwe kancane. Sase siyabona ukuthi maybe indlela kuyibooster kwanyalo lokuthi sirophe in 2 assistant coaches to assist Dominic. Lauma assistant coaches mo Ernest Mavuso na Neuro demand.
Executive Officer of the Football Association, Frederick Mgumezulu, has some good news for local football lovers concerning the construction of stands at Kalanga Technical Center.
Kube khona ukhala lokuba khona Kalanga kutawubuketwa nakhona ukuthi kungete kwakhiwa indzawo yokuhlala lencane nje ukuthi sive lesibukela ibhola kube khona lapho sihleli khona itawuqala incane kuye ngeminyaka ikhulise kancane kancane izifike kumbe esigabeni lesingajabulisa wonke umuntu lokhona ebholeni.
Mgomezulu also highlighted that there will be a technical committee to be set up which will monitor coaches when training their respective teams and the referees. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini, Mbabane.
Chief Operations Officer at Eswatini Athletics Association, Toba Mazibugo, says there is no fine to be paid local clubs who failed to attend the All-Africa Games qualifiers this past weekend. Only 2 local teams attended the qualifiers this past weekend at Mavuso Sports Center. The All-Africa Games will take place in Ghana this year.
Athletic teams in the country continue following the call by majority of the club to see the association president, Zakele Dlamini, stepping down. The same conflict resulted in seeing the national team and Manzini Athletics Club coach Muzi Mabuza getting suspended. This past weekend, only 3 teams attended the All-Africa Game qualifiers, with 2 local teams being TZD of President Zakele Dlamini and RES.
No, this is an open competition. Loba at the disadvantage is athletes themselves, those that have interest. those are the ones that get disadvantaged. Otherwise, clouds. But I at the same time I cannot run away those problems within the federation, la political which I cannot get into now because of their political nature. But in jail, there are certain challenges.
The qualifiers were scheduled weeks ago, but clubs failed to attend amid conflicts. At the moment, Sibusama Tsenjo and Bongo Mahlala are the only two athletes who qualified for All Africa Games this year. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini, Mbabane.
That is all we had for tonight, but before we wrap up, we'll take a quick recap of today's headlines. His Majesty King Mswati III has called upon members of the G77 plus China to attract investors who will support hunger and poverty alleviation programs and help the G77 plus China members to achieve their SDGs. The Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Thuli Dladla says the DRC's newly sworn-in President Felix Tshisekedi was happy to have received well wishes from His Majesty King Mswati III during his inauguration. The Minister of Education Honorable Owen Malo says it is all systems go for the opening of schools on Tuesday. That brings us to the end of our news bulletin tonight. Up next is the weather forecast for selected towns. Good night, Eswatini.
Hello and welcome to Eswatini TV and to a brand new talk show called A Cuppa with Nomgebo. And I do what I have to do because I know where I'm going. All 5 of my mothers have inspired me.
So the addiction didn't happen then. It happened again another 8 years later. But that's where it started.
Choices I made at the time were not the best choices for myself.
I understand how a person can lose their mind in terms of life experiences.
That's what it looks like, and I like that. But you know what? The journey to my success is never a straight line.
Yeah, people are on the net now, and that's where we'd like to catch them with such shows.